Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OMQS Leandro Guerra speaking. And today we will have a tutorial so you can learn how to use the newest WebSocket API from our platform that is free for any of our subscribers and allows you to collect the OMQS information up to 83 different assets. Naturally, you can make only one API key per user and establish one single connection per key. So pay attention with your InfoSec so you don't share your key. Otherwise, you are going to be paying for somebody else to use. Okay, so this is basic, but still we need to remember that this type of information needs to be given. Okay, so any of those things that you are seeing in the screen from the OMQS, you can get directly through the API. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One, it's a Jupyter notebook file. The other, it's a .py file that in a different way allows you to collect the information. Of course, based on your level of knowledge of Python, you can set up things in a totally different way. It's up to you. This it's only a suggestion. And here you also have the entire documentation that you can also generate the markdown if you press the button here, copy for large language models to use on your preferred AI. The first cell, we have the setup, the connection, and the authentication of the WebSocket API and the service. So you will place the API key and the URL into your .env file. Once this is done, you will have the setup of the subscription and getting the data from the API itself. As I said, a single connection tolerates up to 83 different pairs, including its variations on the time frames. So here I have three. I have Bitcoin for 1 minute, Ethereum for 5 minutes time frame, and Euro dollar for also 5 minutes time frame. The step number three is just the storage. In this example, I will be showing you how you will store that information into a data frame. Again, you can customize in the way you want, placing in the database, in a CSV, or any other preferable option that you may have. We do have some helper functions. So you set up your time zone, normalization of values, the candle message as well, because we can collect the time that you made the request, the symbol, that it's the asset, the ticker, the time frame, the timestamp, open, high, low, close, that is the information from the candlestick that you are collecting, the volume if it's available, what is the status at the moment of the signal itself, and the three different types of stops. All of them will be then normalized and then will be placed into the data frame. In this case, remember, it's just a suggestion. What matters the most, of course, is what you get from the API. So all of these other functions, they are just a way of you querying the data once you made the request and have stored the values. The main point, of course, it's this function that is the WebSocket loop, is where we create the connection, and from there we collect the whole information that it's required. Now, this is done. Connection is started. The WebSocket client is running into the background, and we have the functions to collect our desired information. The cell number three will monitor the assets that we placed in our dictionary above each 5 seconds. You don't need to run it each 5 seconds by default. You eventually can do the customizations you need, of course, but here is just enough to be dynamic for this tutorial so you can see the data changing the screen. So in the way it's running now, it makes the request through the API, get back the information, and display it to you in the format of the data frame. At the same time, it's also storing in the main data frame every 5 seconds that particular request and the outputs. So you will have, of course, something that will contain plenty of repetitive information. That is why you don't need the 5 seconds itself, but just what you need for your use case. If you want to inspect the full story of one single pair, for example, so we have stored the information in the data frame, we make the filter through the Bitcoin USDT, for example, in the time frame that it's the 1 minute, and then I get the latest information. You see, many of them, they will not change because we were collecting each 5 seconds, so nothing has changed. Or you simply get history data frame for everything, and then you have not just the Bitcoin, but the other two pairs that we have in our example. In the cell number 4, you just have the traditional way and the simplest way possible actually to consult the information that it's just keeping the loop, and then you print and collect what it's necessary. So you have then much simpler than a particular data frame in this case. Depending of your use case, the Jupyter Notebook is not the most appropriated way, so you can also run the .py file that will make the requests. You can run it through the user interface that you prefer or from the terminal that we have over here, and then you can enhance all of your setup in order to suit your needs. And here again, it's essentially the same structure, but with the difference that we are no longer storing it into the data frame, we're just displaying that information in the screen each 5 seconds. Is that clear, my friends? If you have any questions, doubts, concerns, just let me know. Write to me or to the support. We'll be more than happy to help you. And then welcome again to our platform and enjoy the best of it. So take care. See you next time. Bye bye.